Zion Williamson on the move. Will the Pelicans move on from the talented big man? I'm Trevor Lane. This is the Basketball Bulletin. Make sure you subscribe right here. Keep you up to date on all things going on around the NBA on our 100% independent NBA channel. Joined by Donnie Freeman. Donnie, can you imagine Zion Williamson wearing another jersey? Because that's the buzz that's starting to grow. In fact, even on the betting market, we're starting to see that.
Yeah, definitely kind of crazy to hear that a player of his caliber is somebody that could potentially be on the market. Definitely not expected, especially early on in his career here, but he has struggled with a number of things, be it weight, injury, or just lack of availability. So ultimately, if this is the way that things go, that could be pretty interesting to see.
So he is right now injured, going to be out for at least the next, 4 to 6 weeks. And then he's going to have to get reevaluated, dealing with a hamstring issue. So not good at all for Zion Williamson. The Pelicans, my God, I mean, 80% of their starting lineup, I'm not exaggerating, 80% of their starting lineup right now is out for the New Orleans Pelicans. But here are the odds right now on which team, if the Pelicans decide to trade Zion Williamson, which team Zion will land with. And look at that, the Lakers have the best odds to land Zion Williamson. First of all, I can't imagine the Pelicans would be super thrilled with sending another star player to the Lakers, but would the Lakers even be interested in Zion? I guess, given the injuries that he's faced, is that the guy that you want to put with LeBron and AD? I can't imagine you're giving up LeBron or AD to get him, right?
Yeah, I mean, so typically the way I would operate in this situation is if you can get a star player, you should do it. It's a little bit weird because he's so unavailable. So I think they would go for it, if I'm being honest with you. I think Pelinka. Oh, actually, you know what? I would say that Pelinka would do it, but I think he's so scared of making a trade now that he probably wouldn't do it, to be honest. But I think he really has twinkles for stars. So
because it's a big twinkles for stars.
Big move.
Because it's such a big risk, right? He already has the Russell Westbrook trade on his record. And I don't know that he can make another risk. But look at some of these other teams: the Houston Rockets, the Clippers. These teams make sense. The Rockets are known to be a team that's going to be in the hunt for stars. The Clippers, they're going to be looking. Could you imagine if the Clippers, with Kawhi, they just let go of Paul George, the injury issues they have, if they were to get Zion?
Yeah, that would be insane.
Right? The Knicks, I'm not sure exactly how they get that done, but they could still find ways to make moves. The Hawks, I think, are an interesting one. The Nets, I find that the Nets, I don't think they're there yet. I think they still need to continue this teardown. But, if there's a star out there, the Grizzlies, again, the Grizzlies last season was wiped out due to injury. I guess that's it. When I'm looking at this list, there's so many of these teams that I think would be terrified of getting an injury-prone player that I don't know if they would do it.
Yeah,
but I would still have to imagine there would be interest if Zion was on the market.
Yeah, if you're doing this, you're taking a gamble on Zion the player. Like, that's the thing, is there's no question about how good he is or how talented he is out there. He's an amazing basketball player. The question is the availability. I think you're truly taking a gamble on that. And so I could understand why a team like the Nets or the Hawks or the Bulls, these teams that are pretty mediocre and also could be looking for a star, haven't had a star in a while, although the Nets seem to keep churning through stars lately, I guess. But these teams, I can understand why they would try to get a player like Zion, right? It's just I expect, I'm hopeful, I guess I should say, that at some point things will normalize for Zion and he'll be able to be out there for a normal amount of time as opposed to a third of a season or something like that. But I think you're definitely taking a gamble here.
Well, so his contract is really interesting. And this is where maybe it softens the blow a little bit of getting Zion Williamson, because he does have such a unique contract. I don't know that we've ever seen this before in the NBA, but you look at Zion's contract, he's at $36.7 million this year, but this is not all, like, typically star level players like Zion is when he's healthy. And again, he's not even healthy right now, but typically star level players, it's all guaranteed money. Only $18 million guaranteed this season. $39 million next season, 39.5 million, 42 million, 45 million. So he has 4 years, including this one, under contract. But look at the guarantees, zero. And then it's not exactly like zero, like you could walk away from the entire contract. But we go here, and this is again via the fantastic spot track. But look at this. His contract details. His contract, in terms of being fully guaranteed, that's happening in January. That's when his contract for this season will become guaranteed. He's got July guarantee dates on the rest of them, but they're all dependent upon production. His 20% of his salary becomes guaranteed if he passes 6 weigh-in checkpoints, and he has to weigh less than 195 pounds. That's where he's at. Has to be less than 195 pounds. And then 40% of his salary for next season becomes guaranteed if he plays more than 41 games. Then he has another tier at 51 games and another one at 61 games. So there is some protection in here where if this guy is just crazy injured once again, the team is not on the hook for the entirety of his salary. I wonder if that is enough to where that would incentivize teams, because they could say, look, even if we get him and it turns out he's a lemon and this does not work for us and he cannot get on the basketball court, we're not on the hook for all of this money.
Yeah, so it looks like the way I understand it is that he's got these markers in here, but that's on a per year basis, right? Like it's these last 3 years are just flat out non-guaranteed. So he's got to hit these markers on a per year basis, it looks like. Also, it looks like they kind of made it a little bit easy for him. Also, they say that the protections are that he's got to be below 295 pounds. I don't know that that's a hard ask for him. Body fat monitoring, sure. He also was supposedly coming into the season in better shape, though we hear that pretty much every year with Zion the last couple of years. So I'm not really sure. There was, to be fair, there was an image that was circulating and he did look like he was in better shape. But largely aside from that, it's just a health thing. But I wanted to ask you as well, a couple of questions. So firstly, if you were to trade for him right now, you would be trading for that number that was listed above of 38 or whatever it is. If you tried to trade for him next year, for example, when these protections are truly here, would you have to match 39.5 in salaries?
Yeah, you would still have to match that number. That would still be what's going out there. But it's interesting with those protections in place, though, to help you not have to pay quite so much if you were to try to, need to walk away from the contract or something like that. But yeah, it's a lot of salary. But again, the guy's 24 years old. And then you look, and this is the hard thing with Zion, because he came in with so much fanfare. People were so excited for him to come into the NBA. And you look at what he's done and you can see why. I mean, look at the numbers that this guy puts up. It's unreal. I mean, look at this season. He's only played in 6 games because he's been hurt, but 8 boards, 5 assists, 23 points, 1.2 blocks, 45% from the field. And that's a big decrease. I think that's just a small sample size. Because look at the past few seasons, 57. He played 70 games last season and it gave you 6 boards, 5 assists, 23 points. He is an absolute monster when he's out there on the court and he's healthy. But 29 games the season before that, didn't play an entire season due to injury. This is about as high risk and high reward as I can think of in the NBA if you're going to go get Zion Williamson right now. So let's go back to then this. Of these teams, who is it that you think would want to swing for the fences?
It's a good thing you segued back here, but because before I answer your question, I wanted to ask my other question.
Yeah.
With these, typically, is this the way that, because I don't do any betting or anything like that, this basically, the way that it's listed here is that people have placed bets on these things to happen, right? This is not like some insider information. It's just people have placed these bets, right?
No, this is just if you want to bet on Zion Williamson's next landing spot, these are your options, and these are going to be the payouts on them. So essentially the way it works is if it's plus 600 for the Lakers and you want to bet that Zion's going to land with the Lakers, you bet $100, he goes to the Lakers, you will get 600. That's the way that's going to work. Okay. So if Zion is going to go to any of these, so essentially the lower the number here, when it's positive, the lower the number, the more likely it is that they think it's going to happen. Whereas like the Bulls, if you bet $100, you're going to get $2,800 because it's not seen as a very likely thing to
Yeah,
happen
I
compared to some
understood
of the
that
others.
part, but my question was in relation to that part. Like, why do they think the Lakers are the most likely?
Oh,
Is my point.
I do see that's part of it too. Is it's not just what do they think is most likely to happen? It's what do they think is most likely for people to bet on?
Gotcha.
What are
That's
people
what
going to
it
put
was.
down
Okay.
money on? And that's going to influence the lines as well.
Okay. So that makes more sense. So yeah. So to answer your question, I think a couple of teams are that I think could be interesting are the ones that I mentioned here. Earlier, the Hawks and the Nets are the ones I would keep
Yeah.
my eyes on. But I think
Yep.
mainly the Hawks are one that I would be really interested in. But either one, toss up between those two. I don't think the Lakers make this trade, like we mentioned earlier. I don't know that Rob is in on making a trade for another star that could potentially not pan out. The Rockets, I mean, maybe I think that they could probably pull this, but I don't know if they go in on that right now. The Clippers, they'd be crazy, I think, to try to. I mean, like high risk, high reward, but if it doesn't work
Sure.
out, they're crazy in my opinion. The Knicks, no way. The Grizzlies, I don't think so. Bulls, I don't think so. So I think by default, it's those two teams.
Well, I guess this leads us back though to if you're the Pelicans, do you trade him?
Yeah, no, I don't think you trade him if you're the Pelicans.
I think I might want to if I'm the
You
Pelicans.
do
At
sell
this point,
high.
they're so injured. They're so
Yeah,
injured right now, and they've been so injured for years and years and years, and they just can't get this team healthy. I think at some point they've got to be sick of it, and they got to be now. Again, it depends on the return. If it's hey, we'll just give you expiring contracts,
yeah,
that's
no.
not all that exciting of a return for a guy like Zion Williamson. If it's we can get something real for him though, and maybe they consider it and they just say, you know what, this has been a huge headache for what 5 years now, and we want to be out of the Zion Williamson business. I could see them actually getting to that point. I don't know if they're there right now, and I know the upside is certainly much higher with Zion than whatever they would get in return, but it's hard to build a team. It's hard to develop any kind of chemistry or cohesiveness when you can't keep guys on the floor. When the guy's not out there, how are you supposed to win games that way? You can't. So I do wonder if the Pelicans really look at the trade market and see what's out there for Zion, maybe even this year by the trade deadline.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they're kind of gauging the market.
Oh
I
yeah.
just Yeah, I don't. I mean, eventually, a couple years from now, if you're still having these problems, I could see it. But right now, I don't know if they try to make that trade. You know what I think they would try to do is I think they try to trade off CJ. They try to trade off BI like they've been trying to
Mhm.
already. I think they try to make these other moves around and hope that Zion things normalize for him and he's able to play. I think that you would have less optimism if you're the Pelicans if Zion didn't already show you that he could play a good number of games. He played 61, which is nothing crazy, but he played 70 last year. So it's like there was something there. I think he actually got hurt against the Lakers on like the last day of the
Oh yeah,
season
he
or
did.
something like that. Yeah. So like there's something there. And when he's out there, he is a force. There's not a lot of guys that can do what he does the way he does it. He's extremely good. And so I think you've got such a high ceiling there that I think that if you're the Pelicans, you've just got to ride with them until you just feel like you can't anymore. So I don't know if that's this year. I don't really think so, but in the offseason earliest probably, but I think in a couple of years for sure, if you're still having these difficulties with him being able to be on the court, then you really have to look into it. But I think that because of the way that they structured his contract, there isn't really much of a downside because you're not paying him a ton. He's not if he's not reaching these benchmarks, so it's not like you're losing a ton of money. So I could see why they would also keep him in that regard too.
Yeah, it'll be fascinating to see what the Pelicans do. It's been a brutal season for them. We know they're going to try to trade Brandon Ingram. I guess the real question is, do you also try to trade, especially if you're going to get a top pick in this year's draft, do you also try to move Zion Williamson and completely reset things for the Pelicans and start a whole new era? I think that would be a really interesting opportunity for them. We'll see if that's a path that they go down, but give us your thoughts in the comment section. What should the Pelicans do with Zion Williamson? And if they decide to trade him, who is it that should make the move and go get an extremely talented but often injured player? Again, let us know in the comment section and go check out our latest video all about why the NBA Cup has been a big winner.